Well, Christmas is not that far away. Are we all ready? I got my Christmas shopping done. Yay! So, it's exciting. It's an exciting time of the year to get out and figure what you're doing and even remember Christmases past. And one Christmas I remember, my parents were still alive then, this is years ago, and we went down to Memphis to spend Christmas with my cousin and her family. If you ever met my cousin, who lives in Memphis, Avis, you would think that we're sisters. We look so much alike. Actually, we're half cousins. Same grandmother, different grandfathers. But we always looked, even when she was little, everyone thought that she belonged to my mom and dad because she looked so much like my dad. When it was really my mom she's related to. So we love spending Christmas with them. And I remember on Christmas morning, she had her two granddaughters there, and they were little. They were about 4 and 6. So it's great to have little ones when you're having Christmas. And the little ones were having so much fun just tearing into every gift that they had. And they had just oodles of gifts underneath the Christmas tree. And they were just happily tearing all the wrapping paper off and then going on to the next gift, hardly noticing what even they had received. They were kind of into the zen of unwrapping. And finally, at the end, when they'd gone through all of their gifts, my cousin said, "I don't think we have enough Christmas for them." And I thought, my heavens, look at all the gifts these kids have. They haven't even had time to take stock of what they did have, much less have any more. They were just having fun unwrapping. Now is the time when they need to go back and look at all that they received. And how many of us think that is the amount of gifts that makes it important on Christmas Day? It's the number of gifts that we get, instead of what's contained in each of these gifts. Does anyone ever stop and just look at the true value of a gift? I'm not talking about how much it costs. I'm talking about the time and the creativity that can go into a gift. We heard this from the kids. Some of the things that they made and some of the things that they gave, they put themselves into the gift, and it had nothing to do with the dollar amount that goes with that. The true value of a gift is not the cost, but the effect it has on the person who opens it and the effect it has on the person who gives it. The gifts that those children received really didn't have any value for them. At least not yet. They hadn't had a chance to play and put their energy into it. They were just opening presents. I'll tell you, those gifts cost a lot too. They didn't waste any money on those granddaughters. But there was no value from the grandchildren yet. And how many times do we see that? It's just, we think they need to have more instead of being grateful for what we already have. I'm going to share a story with you this morning, and let me know if you see the value in the story. It's from one of my favorite books, Chicken Soup for the Christmas Soul, and it's filled with wonderful stories. It says, "I came from a large family of 9 brothers and sisters, and all of us have kids of our own. On each Christmas night, our entire family gathers at my oldest sister's home, exchanging gifts, watching the nativity skit put on by the smaller children, eating, singing, and enjoying a visit from Santa himself. The Christmas of 1988, my husband Bob and I had 4 children. Peter was 11, Leanne was 9, Laura was 6, and Matthew was 2. When Santa arrived, Matthew parked himself on Santa's lap and pretty much remained dazzled by him for the rest of the evening. Anyone who had their picture taken with Santa that Christmas also had their picture taken with little Matthew. Little did any of us know how precious those photos with Santa and Matthew would become. 5 days after Christmas, our sweet little Matthew died in an accident at home. We were devastated. We were lucky to have strong support from our families and friends to help us through. I learned that the first year after a death is the hardest, as there are so many firsts to get through without your loved one. Birthdays and special occasions became sad instead of joyous. When our first Christmas without Matthew approached, it was hard for me to get into the holiday spirit. Bob and I could hardly face putting up the decorations or shopping for special gifts for everyone. But we went through the motions for Peter, Leanne, and Laura. Then on December 13th, something extraordinary happened to raise our spirits when we didn't think it was even possible. We were just finishing dinner when we heard a knock at the front door. When we went to answer it, no one was there. However, on the front porch was a card and gift. We opened the card and read that the gift giver wanted to remain anonymous. He or she just wanted to help us get through a rough time by cheering us up. In the gift bag was a cassette of favorite Christmas music, which was in a little cardboard Christmas tree. The card described it as being a cartridge in a pine tree. A twist on the partridge in a pear tree verse in the song, The 12 Days of Christmas. We thought that it was a very clever gift, and the thoughtfulness of our elf touched our hearts. We put the cassette in our player, and song by song, the spirit of Christmas began to warm our hearts. That was the beginning of a series of gifts from the clever giver, one for each day until Christmas. Each gift followed the theme of the 12 Days of Christmas in a creative way. The kids especially liked 7 Swans of Swimming, which was a basket of swan-shaped soaps, plus passes to the local swimming pool, giving the kids something to look forward to when the warm days of spring arrived. 8 Maids of Milking included 8 bottles of chocolate milk, eggnog, and regular milk in glass bottles with paper faces, handmade aprons, and caps. Every day was something very special. The 5 golden rings came one morning just in time for breakfast. 5 glazed donuts just waiting to be eaten. We would get calls from our family, neighbors, and friends who would want to know what we'd received that day. Together we would chuckle at the ingenuity and marvel at the thoughtfulness as we enjoyed each surprise. We were so caught up in the excitement and curiosity of what could possibly come next that our grief didn't have much of a chance to rob us of the spirit of Christmas. What our elf did was absolutely miraculous. Each year since then, as we decorate our Christmas tree, we place on it the decorations we received that Christmas while we play the song, The 12 Days of Christmas. We give thanks for our elf, who was, we finally realized, our very own Christmas angel. We never did find out who it was, although we have our suspicions. We actually prefer to keep it that way. It remains a wondrous and magical experience, a mysterious and as blessed as the very first Christmas. Isn't that a sweet story? I mean, you know that when you lost anyone that first year, much less a child, that first year is devastating. And you think about what that person put into each of these gifts and made that Christmas so very special for this family. Whoever their angel was, it was simple things, not complex things, like soaps and donuts, made a change in that family's life and lifted their spirits. It produced a change for this family, and it shows the real meaning of what Christmas is about, to reach out and really touch another person. Joan, I think you are well aware of how even the simplest gifts can affect the giver as well, because we will always have us in a project where we are giving to someone, and thank you for that. It shows that just simple things, that I had a purse that someone gave me that I've never used, and so what a perfect way to pass it on. And went out and did some shopping, even if it's at the dollar store, just imagining some of the things that a person might need. You all may have had the similar experience. It gave us an opportunity to anonymously be our own Christmas elves and just help people. So thank you for giving us this opportunity every year to make sure we can reach out and touch someone even though we don't know them. This is the last day for the Children's Restoration Network where we're giving this. So please, and you heard the announcements, participate any way you can, and please see Joan if you have any questions, because the wrapping is probably, you go down for that every year, don't you, Joan? And it's so much fun. And see what way you can help. It feels so good to help others. In 2 Corinthians, Paul says, but remember this, he who sows sparingly reaps sparingly, and he who sows generously reaps generously. So let every person give according to what they have decided in their mind, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. Actually, the Greek word that was translated as cheerful is the word hilarion. And it means hilarious or joyful. God loves a hilarious giver. Think of the energy that means that instead of you're grudgingly giving a gift, that you're filling it, that whatever gift you're giving, with joy, with happiness, and with hilarity. I mean, can you imagine this family in the story grieving so much and then suddenly started looking forward to what the next day's gift would offer them? I think that giver was divinely inspired. It's the lightness of spirit that infuses a gift that lifts the spirit of those that are receiving.
Amen.
Thank you. As we give with joy, let us also receive with joy. We infuse our gifts with an energy, and it's the energy that we choose to use. So let's give in joy and receive in joy this year as well. I had my own experience with giving several years back when I was visiting Unity Village. I don't know if anybody's been out to Unity Village, but it's out where there's a bunch of farmland. It's about as flat, and you can see for miles. And it was, as I was pulling off of the Missouri Highway to make the exit to go into where Unity Village was, I saw a homeless man parked there on the corner of the exit ramp. And he had a huge blanket laid out. He had all of his possessions piled all over this, and he was just camping out there. And he had a sign and said, "I need food." And I was caught up on this. I thought, wait a minute, I'm getting a divine tap on the shoulder. And I was on a pretty tight budget when I was going in to Unity Village, and I had to really watch my money, but I thought, I hope I am always in a situation where I can at least spend $5 over at McDonald's and get a food for some guy. So I immediately drove over and I ordered the biggest sandwich and the biggest fries and the biggest drink that I could get. It only was about $5, but here was this guy. He didn't say he needed money, he needed food. He was asking for exactly what he was needing. So I loaded up and I drove back over, and I was a little cautious. I didn't want to just jump out and give it to him. I didn't know the guy. I needed to be a little safe. I did lock the doors, but as I pulled up, I rolled down the window on the far side. And he came over to the car and I said, "I brought you lunch." So I handed the drink and I handed the food over to him, and he mumbled a thank you and went back over to where all the stuff was. So I drove down just a little ways and turned around and came back. And when I came back by where he had been, he was gone. He was nowhere to be seen. And I kept looking around for him because there was no place for him to go. It's flat around here. You would see where he's gone. And I've always wondered if that was a little divine test, especially right there by Unity Village. How well do you practice what you preach? And I don't know where he went to. I don't know who he was. Was he a figment of my imagination? Well, I know the food was gone. So I was always kind of looked at that as God giving me a pop quiz. Do you always have an opportunity to give something? It doesn't have to be a big gift. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it's giving something when someone is in need. I know this year I am enjoying Christmas in a way I never have enjoyed it before. Because you may remember last year I was virtually shut in because we were dealing with the cancer. I was still on the walker and I couldn't drive anywhere. So my Christmas and the Christmas gifts I got was a friend came over and pulled out my Christmas decorations and decorated my place for me. I had another friend that came by on Christmas Eve. She went to Christmas Eve service and came by and just shared what the service was like and brought me a program and brought me a candle. We did our own little candle lighting. On Christmas Day, another couple came over and brought some snacks over. I wasn't eating much at the time. They said, "You got to eat." And so they brought some food, and we just stayed and talked, and we watched The Christmas Story. Everybody watch that every year? Yeah. I mean, it's a tradition. It's got to be one of the best stories. Anytime you always see the word fragile, it's always fragile. The Christmas gifts I received last Christmas was the gift of time. People just came over and just helped, just to make sure that though I couldn't go anywhere, that I still had Christmas. They came by and supported me. They also brought some gifts over. And I just felt so blessed that I felt that I truly celebrated Christmas, even though I wasn't able to get out at all. This year, I'm just enjoying every inch of Christmas shopping. I love standing in lines because I couldn't stand in line last year. I love the shopping that I've done. Love the decorating I've done, because you go a year without Christmas, and you realize how important all your little ceremonies that you love to do every year really is. Last year I even had a treat on New Year's Eve, because my condominium, there's a backside to it, and there's a condominium right behind me, and they threw one heck of a New Year's Eve party. And I could hear the music, and I could hear the laughter, and they had fireworks at midnight, and I felt like I'd gone to a New Year's Eve party, even though I hadn't budged from my house. And they're very quiet the rest of the time. They never bother me. It's not like they party all the time. And I thought, well, heck, I've got neighbors that are celebrating New Year's, and I felt like I was invited, even though I didn't budge from my place. These ceremonies are important to us, and if you don't have them, you miss a lot. And so I'm always amazed at when people use their creativity to share and what they can give. As you go through this year, think about your own decorating and your own shopping. What energy are you putting into your gifts? What energy are you putting into the time it takes, and just thinking about, what can I give someone that will touch them in a deep way, that I can lift their spirits so that they too can be raised to hilariousness or cheer or joy. That's the meaning of a giver at Christmas. It's not the amount, it's the energy we put into it. As you go about shopping this season, my prayer is that you have eyes to appreciate every moment that you are using and taking the time to infuse into your celebrations. Each of us has the power to give a gift of real value, a gift that can touch another. My prayer for you is that you share from your hearts this Christmas season. Through the power of your gift, you can change a life. You can make a life. You can make Christmas so easily. Let's take this into meditation.